Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to season 3 of the Curious You podcast. This year, we're starting with a very, very special episode, as today I'm joined by Teodora Ivin, a global brand builder turned founder who's redefining what personal branding means in the age where human creativity meets AI. Teodora and I actually met more than a decade ago during our studies in Moscow back in 2013, I think it was. And it's been really inspiring to watch how her journey unfolded since then. After building global brands for Dyson and Pernod Ricard, living and working in 7 countries and speaking 5 languages, Teodora decided to take a leap, to leave the corporate world and to build her own movement. Binge Your Own Brand, where she helps founders create brands people don't just follow, but binge. So, in this conversation, we will talk about what it means to belong while standing out, the courage it actually takes to reinvent yourself, and the power of balancing masculine and feminine energy in business and creativity. Teodora will also share her personal branding framework, how AI and creativity can amplify human connection, and what it truly means to evolve from within. So, this episode for me is kind of a full circle moment because it takes me from our student days in Moscow to now exploring together how curiosity, courage, and creativity shape the next generation of founders. So, Teodora, I am so happy to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nina, for such a beautiful introduction. And I'm so honored to be on the podcast with you. And yes, it brings me quite a lot of memories, actually, from my student years as well.
So we will start with your journey of living everywhere. I think when I think about you, I think instantly about your days when you worked at Pernod Ricard and you were just traveling and enjoying life. So as I already did the introduction, I would like for you to present yourself, but also to talk through the lens of what it means to actually live in 7 countries and speak 5 languages. Like, how did adapting so often shape you and your personal and professional growth?
I've been someone that has always been like in motion since my very young age. I was born, like in Bulgaria, and I had to move, like in France at the age of 4 because of following, like my parents' career at the time. And so for me, like when I first arrived in France, I didn't know the language, I didn't know anyone, and I was such a young kid as well. I would say, like the first quality and skills, I acquired from such a young age was just like my capacity to be actually being able to bond with any other kids, even before even speaking. And this is the thing that I love the most, like about kids, because we're so curious and we're very eager, like to connect. We don't even need a language actually to even connect to each other. So that was, like most of my childhood, like had to learn the language, integrate myself inside the culture. So I stayed in France until, let's say, the age of 20 something. I did have a master degree in law, same as you. And then after I decided I didn't want to pursue, like the lawyer path, I was very creative and I also wanted to live abroad, which is something, sometimes when you pick up, like a low career, they define for you, like sometimes the country where you're going to be living, especially if you work, like politics, etc. And so I wanted to do something a bit more creative with my life. And so I came up to my dad and I said, you know what? I really would love, like to do like a business school. And my dad said, if you finish your master degree, you can do whatever you want. So that was the deal. I finished my master degree. And then after I applied for a business school, international business school, which is called MIEX. And that was seriously
Where is
like
that?
one. It's called MIEX. So it is based, like in Nancy in France, like northeast of France. And the good thing about this is we were a classroom of 60 people with 14 different nationalities. That was my first exposure, like of being with such an international environment and so many different cultures as well. And so the program started, like in France for 6 months. After we all moved to Italy for 6 months. And after for the second year, you could choose and pick wherever you wanted. And I decided Russia because at the time I thought no one was learning Russian. Everybody was learning Chinese. And so that would be like a very good advantage for me. And so this is the reason why I moved to Russia, mostly like to learn the language. And I didn't expect to fall in love so much with the culture, so much amazing friends, like including yourself as well. And yeah, and after this, I stayed for 5 years in Moscow working at Pernod Ricard. And then I have been moved here in Australia, and it has been 7 years and a half that I'm now here in Australia. I continued with Pernod Ricard, and then for the last 2 years, I was in Dyson as a category manager for the beauty category. And yeah, and now I'm actually even Australian myself. So now I have three nationalities.
What an impressive story. And talking about Dyson and Pernod Ricard, I mean, they're global brands. What would you say were your biggest lessons from working for those kind of brands?
There is so many things I have learned thanks to corporate. I know a lot of people when they quit corporate, they say, "Oh yes, I'm glad I created." But I have to say a lot of compliments as well of what corporate has given to me, because the first thing that corporate has given me was international exposure. I think it's not that simple sometimes when you are on your own to be able to be living and working abroad, especially from a visa perspective, and also sometimes financial paying for the apartments and everything else. That is the reason why I moved to Russia, and that is the reason why also I moved to
Mhm.
Australia as well. And the second thing is, I think when you are in corporate, especially like in big corporations like this, you have access to a lot of marketing budget. Like we're speaking in like millions as well. And when you are on your own entrepreneurial journey, like I don't have like a 2 million, like set aside for me to actually test and learn
Yeah.
and see, like that would be like horrific for me. It'd be like very stressful to manage this. And incorporate, like you have very big responsibility at a very early level, if they trust you. I have worked on so much exciting campaigns, like TV campaigns, like 360 global campaigns as well that have really moved the needle, and lots of test and learn. I feel like going into corporate, it's actually the best school, to be honest, because you have access to so much information, so much resources. You have access from such knowledge also and collaboration from your managers and your colleagues, and it's like just a wealth of idea that you get, and I feel like your growth is exponential, especially at a young age. You get exposure to all of those ideas and all of those exciting projects. So yeah, those are the things I would say that I really really give to me. But also, I was very lucky that I always worked for brands that are premium, and also that I was passionate about as a user as well, which helps.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely helps. So taking that into consideration, when do you get that moment like, aha, I could do something for myself by myself? How does that go?
So, look, that is not a very easy, quick decision. It's not like you wake up one day and you say, I'm done. That was not my case.
Mhm.
There is like a very long, matured decision. It took me years. I knew in my gut feel that I will be not staying in corporate my entire life, because when you look at most of my family, I am the odd one still staying, in corporate. A lot of them are entrepreneurs and working for themselves as well. And so I knew I would do it at some point. I just didn't expect like when and how it will be and which
Mhm.
shape it will be. So I would say, for the last, let's say, 4 years, I really worked on myself, on my inner self, but also with a business coach as well. And we worked on what I wanted to do for myself, what were my values, what was my vision, who I wanted to be as well. By doing, like this inner work, I understood that the more I was staying in corporate, the more I was basically giving all of my passion and all of my energy for somebody else. And I am someone in every single job I have been hired that has been a hustler. I have been putting myself like to the core, like really big energy, always passionate about everything I have done. And then I thought, what if I was putting even like a tiny percentage of that energy and that passion for something that really resonates with me, that I built for myself, that will exponentially grow, like as time goes, that is aligned with my values, and just prioritize myself. And the biggest realization I had by just doing all of this inner work and also all of this business coaching as well was what I value the most in life is freedom of time, which sometimes in corporate you don't have. In my company, we had to go 4 days in the office, and now apparently they moved it to 5. So I didn't
Oh,
have
wow.
freedom of time, the freedom of space, deciding where I want to, when I want to work. So if I want to work from the beach or from my friend or from abroad, I didn't have that capacity because you had to be in Sydney to be working. And then the freedom of working with who I want. And so if tomorrow I want to work with this client because I'm really energized and I'm really passionate and really grow it together, that will be also like a privilege I have, which you don't have in corporate sometimes. And because of that freedom of space, time, and working with people that elevate you, I was like, this is a very easy decision. From the moment I knew I was leaving was in April, procrastinated until July. And one day, for the story, my friend actually, who quit corporate and now she has her own business since 1 year, she came to my house on a Friday and she looks at me and she says, Theo, it's been half of the year already. You told me in April you're going to be leaving. You didn't even leave. And I said, you're right. I'm going to leave. And this is the reason why I have recorded actually this video and posted on my social media. You can see me. And she asked me, what are we doing now? And I said, we are quitting corporate forever. And this is such a funny moment and such an empowered moment, you know. I mean, obviously, when I came after, to the office and I spoke with my manager, we cried and we both hugged and it was very emotional because obviously
Aw.
I care and I did care about my job and everything else and the thing that I've built. But there is an empowering moment of doing that.
I love that story so much. And I remember you telling me, and I was like, wow, this is so brave. So, so brave. Because it's not easy to quit your job and to enter uncertainty because you didn't know how things would go or how your business would even work out. So, but
Yeah.
we will get to that topic. I want to take us back a bit. For all of our listeners who are listening to this, and I know there are a lot of people who still work in corporate. And I guess my next question would be, what separates someone who actually decides to take a leap and to start his or her own business versus someone who thinks about it but doesn't make that decision? What would you say in your case? Is it a moment of
Mhm.
desperation, like I'm not happy anymore, and if I stay here, things are just gonna go, downwards?
Yeah.
What's the criteria for that?
I think there are a few signs that someone needs to watch, and I'll tell you from my own experience. The first sign is I'm a very, very creative person. And when I understood that 80% of my time of the day working at a corporate job was not creative, it was very analytical. And I felt that something, was like disconnected, I would say. Then after another sign is when you feel disconnect, like your energy is drained when you don't even feel energized anymore to actually go to an office and speak to people and you're a bit like closing yourself, on your side. I would say like this is also a sign that maybe you're not living your true potential and maybe something else as well. Like you need something else to do in your life. And also when you start to lose your voice, when you feel completely disconnected from everything you're doing and maybe like me, I started like at the lunch break to eat alone sometimes because I preferred to spend time leveling myself, watching a podcast, watching like a YouTube masterclass because I knew that that was a skill that I could learn from when I will be building my business. And the only thing you're thinking on a daily basis is, I'm thinking about my business. I need my business. I want to be working for myself. And you're not anymore focused on your work, then this is the moment where you need an action. It's very important that at moment when you are ready and you have taken that decision, yes, I need a change in my life. You need first to check, do I have an emotional support team around me? Is this a partner that is going to help you emotionally? Is this a group of friends? Is this your family? Because it's a very lonely game to be an entrepreneur if you don't have that emotional support around you. The second thing I would say is financials. Either you are very lucky, and I am blessed because this is my situation. I have my partner who is here to help me financially. I have savings. I have also investments to tap into in case I need financially. And I have, of course, like a long time frame for me to be safe financially. Not everybody has this chance. People have mortgages or they have kids as well to be taken care of, or maybe they're single moms. And I think what is very important is just to give you a financial buffer if you decide to quit corporate, at least of 1 year to give you enough time. Or I know also a lot of people who successfully build businesses on the side, at night, in the morning, during lunch break, during
Yeah.
the weekends. Unfortunately, that requires a lot of sacrifice. But I know a lot of people who manage to do this as well. And so those are the things that are very important. And the final thing I would say is inner self work. If it's chaos in your mind, you're going to bring chaos into your business. So working on yourself and being very mentally grounded, because entrepreneurship is going to test you in ways that even corporate would never test you.
And how do you work on yourself? What do you do?
So for myself, I have taken the decision to have both a business coach, because she
Mhm.
is an ex marketing director of Gucci in Paris. And so she knows about business, but also she is a therapist as well. And I have
Mm.
worked on myself for 4 years and a half. That seems like a long time, like just straight after COVID until now. And now we are almost done. It's the last session early next year, which
Wow.
feels a bit daunting, thanks to her, because we have gone through 360 every single fear I had, every single fear of
Wow.
visibility, or fear of, expressing my voice, and all of the limiting beliefs, at a cellular level with her. And we have really worked on that together. And so this is how, for me, I worked on my inner self.
And you have your last session in January, you said?
Yes. She told me I'm
And why
ready.
is it the last session?
The look, the roadmap I had with her at the start, when we first started, was we achieved this 2 years ago already. She
Mhm.
has a huge wait list of people willing to work with her, because she's really like the best and the pioneer in her field, in France. And even if her wait list is like massive, she's keeping a very tiny percentage of people that she sees potential and want to go grow even to the highest potential. And then she switched to business coaching. And those are women who are high executives or business founders or whoever it is. And I told her, I said I was super motivated to do the work. I am ready to go into any steps of self growth that I need to achieve. And yeah, my goal with her after was to build my own business. And she was with me now during the entire strategy phase, because I am not launched officially. And now she said, the moment you launch, we're going to stop, because I want you to fly on your own, because I consider that you're ready. You have healed every single thing that we had to heal
Oh,
together.
wow.
And she
You're
believes
ready
in
to
me,
fly.
which is the biggest thing, the biggest trust. Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
I'm not ready for that. There is nothing comforting to have someone listening to your stories, and somebody, sometimes you're stuck and you have stupid questions, because and I'm sure you can relate to that, when you are an entrepreneur, it's not like in corporate, you have your manager you can ask the questions to.
Oh, yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you have no one to ask the questions to. So it's a very lonely game. So having that person every 2 weeks to ask questions from a business side is so comforting. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. For me as well, being in a community, it's what changed this whole game. Mm, I couldn't imagine it any other way because when you have a doubt or when you have days when your energy is lower, business is not going the way you wanted it to go, you always have a community to fall back on. And I think that's something that matters. But also what matters is as well, like your therapist said, to learn how to fly solo because when you learn how to do that, I think the world is literally yours. So I'm sure
Exactly.
you'll be able to do that the best way possible. Knowing you, I wanted to go back a bit more. And when you were saying that you've been working on yourself since COVID, I remember you saying that your default mode used to be masculine energy. How did that show up in your life and in your work?
Yeah. So my default mode is masculine energy, because I mean, from a very young age. especially from the side of my dad. I would say it's pure genetics from this perspective, because when you see the side of my dad, they're very, very strong people, strong personalities, and they believe in starting from zero. My dad came to France when the diplomas were not even recognized, from Bulgaria to France. That was a long time ago. And he started from zero to a very successful career. And after funding also his own business. And for me, I have always been educated in the way that you don't show your weaknesses, you don't need to cry, you should refrain showing your emotions, you cannot be vulnerable. And, like you have to be a tough cookie.
Yeah.
And I have
Mhm.
always been raised like go, go, go modes, very masculine energy versus like my mom is more like the soft side, the emotions, etc. And but I'm more like the side of my dad, I would say, from this perspective. And I have always been, full of that masculine energy. For people who don't know what is a masculine energy, it's someone that really loves to plan and control. I always knew I wanted to live in this country, and this will be my career, and this will be my ambition, and this is exactly what is going to be happening. And you're a pusher. I was pushing hours. I was working until midnight sometimes in corporate. I
Wow.
was like a go-getter.
Wow.
There is nothing that can stop me. Really, really like this type of mindset. It is very useful, I would say, because, for example, when I was hired, the manager that hired me left after 1 week. And I had to work on behalf of 3 people and become the manager of the entire beauty department for the space of 7 months. So for 7 months doing 3 people's job, if I didn't have a masculine energy and a go-getter mindset and I'm gonna figure out type of energy, I would be eaten alive. So I think in certain case scenario, it is very important to also embrace your masculine energy.
It's balance, right? Like everything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's a bit vice versa because I was more in my feminine energy always. And I always liked spiritual stuff, manifestation, and all of those things, connecting with my higher self. And that's actually when I think about business entrepreneurship, that's where my husband and I, we help out each other because he brings the masculine energy in me, and he's the one who gets me to go into action, into the I wouldn't say hustling mode because I don't resonate with the hustling word. It always gives me that feeling of working over hours and being tired and disconnected from yourself. So I wouldn't use that word, but I would use the word maybe grabbing opportunities, because it's one thing when you perform from your feminine energy where you're connected, you're aligned, and things are coming to you, like you can manifest as many things as you want. But if you don't grab them, if you don't go into that masculine mode of being like, "Hey, this is my opportunity and I'm going to take it," then there's no use in being in either of the energies. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. It's all about that balance at the end of the day. But what helped you recognize that you needed to balance your masculine with the feminine? I'm interested in that part of the story.
I was someone who is very linear in my thinking. I only thought that life is linear and this is my next step, and then this, and then this, and everything was planned and everything was controlled. And I was really refraining my emotions. And the first time I really realized I actually needed bigger help was I actually took a 7-day course of neuro-linguistic programming, to get the certification. This was helping me understand a bit like how people think and how to express myself in the way to influence as well. Like it was very interesting.
NLP, right?
NLP, exactly, like neuro-linguistic programming. And uh, during the course, everyone was crying. Like everyone had their own traumas, etc. And me, I was a tough cookie, and I was not crying, and I was thinking like, why everybody's crying? Why everybody's sharing their story, the drama story? I was like, this is a course. Like, keep it up, like put it up, guys. And
I think I'm gonna name this podcast episode "Tough Cookie." I love that. You've called yourself Tough Cookie a couple of times, and it really resonates.
oh no. My God, no, 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 please. I remember the last day of the course, he was speaking about the 5 emotions that we should stop feeling, which was, I don't remember, it was guilt and fear, anger, whatever it was. And then me, it was guilt, and then I start to speak about my story in public in front of everyone. And then I cry. And then I start sobbing, crying, crying, crying. I was unstoppable. The guy had to hypnotize me during the entire session in front of everyone because I was sobbing.
Wow.
And then after the course, I went to my friend because I took the course with my friend Ginny, at the time, and she said, "You, I think you need to express your emotion. I think you have something blocked inside yourself. I think you should see, like this therapist that I told you before." And this is actually how thanks to this Carolina from Paris, after like during those 2 years and a half working on that, we made me feel something because I was someone who was completely avoiding my emotions. I was trying to be that perfect girl. Everything is controlled, show nothing type of personality. I am now able to take decision not only based on logic, but I'm also following your intuition. You know how in corporate they always tell you a decision based on intuition is not going to give you the budget unlocked. It is something that is not good in corporate. But now, and especially as an entrepreneur, I follow way more my gut and my intuition. And if something is not feeling aligned, this is a sign for me. And to be fair, it's so good because when you are in tune with your feminine energy, now I understand what everybody was speaking about, that you magnetize things. Life is showing you the way sometimes when you're stuck because you don't need to force things, but things are coming to you. You have signs, and this is amazing. And for me, that has been
Yeah.
actually the biggest revelation.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and I love that you're that this story and the fact that we're talking about it here because this is something that I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago when looking at this year since I entered entrepreneurship as well, and I was thinking how it doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel hard. I mean, I'm working a lot, don't get me wrong. There's constant going into action, constant, sitting on your laptop and creating, but it doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel forced. And it feels like things are happening because as long as you're aligned with yourself, as long as you know where you want to be, and as long as you're making decisions from that alignment space, it's impossible for things not to happen. And
Exactly.
of course, as long as you're doing what you can do to get there. But it really feels magical. And I think that's the part where people confuse a bit as well manifestation and all of these things today that we hear. If you manifest, things will happen. It takes a mix of both of those things. But if you're truly aligned, it won't feel hard. It will really feel easy. And I'm so happy that we reached to the point of actually talking about this in today's world and that more and more women, at least from, I don't know if it's my algorithm or if it's actually happening, but I have a feeling that more and more women are waking up to this truth. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I completely agree. I think like sometimes if I get stuck creatively on something, I know that I just need to stop what I'm doing, go out, go for a walk, and then things should be, like flowing. If it's not flowing, it means that you're forcing, especially when you're building a business on your own, especially when you're representative of your business, you're the face of your business. And so this is such a good compass that I have that I never had before in
Yes.
corporate, because in corporate you follow the playbook, you follow
Yeah.
somebody else compass, and you follow logic. You should not follow your
Yeah.
intuition. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
But this is
Yes.
so empowering to do that in business, to be honest.
Yeah, because in corporate, we're all results oriented, right? So you have
Yes,
certain goals for the month that you need to do and reach. So you have no choice, even on the bad days, the challenging days, the days where you don't feel like doing it, you need to keep doing it. But it's different when you have your own business because your energy matters, especially if you're on social media and you're showing up for people. You can really not force it because energy can truly be felt. And I felt it on my own skin a couple of times as well when I show up and I'm not showing up from that space of I want to show up, but I need to show up. Completely two different Ninas, completely two different energies. I don't think I
exactly.
can even compare those two versions of myself. So
Because
definitely
people
it's
can
one of the best things.
feel because
Yeah.
people can feel, the energy through the screen. If you have a
Yeah.
forced energy when you're speaking on camera, people are gonna feel that it's not authentic. It's not genuine. Like people have like a radar for this.
Yeah. But they truly do. I mean, it's proven as well by science. It's something we don't see, but it's all around us, and that's why we can all feel those things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
one of the I would say best sides and challenging sides of being an entrepreneur as well is because you have to keep working on yourself as much as you work on your business. If you don't work on yourself, your business is not going to grow. So it forces us to look in the mirror and to actually become our own best friend, the best version of ourselves in order to also get our business to move. What would you say in this regard, talking about this topic, what would you say to women who are listening who might feel exhausted from constant doing, from constantly chasing the results, but are afraid to slow down? You know that feeling that you have, if I slow down, everything's gonna stop.
I think especially, like in today's society, there is we are putting some time, especially for women, badge of honor for them to do everything. I'm pretty sure you must get this question all the time, right, Nina? How are you able to be a mom, to be a business owner, and to be a podcaster, and to do all of those events and speaking events and travel and be present as a wife as well? And I feel like sometimes we compare ourselves as well with everyone else, and especially on social media, like we binge watch all of those founders who are doing like a million things, and we wonder like how are they doing. I know that there are some founders that, for example, like Emma Grede, who tells it out loud that she doesn't believe, like in work-life balance. And this is the reason why, because her, like hustling and sometimes being exhausting, working, working, working is the reason why she got successful. And I would say, if as long as this fits your energy and you're not burnt out from this, and this is the way to go, and you're happy with hustling, like go for it. Like be my guest, because I was in this case as well. However, if you are feeling completely burnt out and completely exhausted, and your energy is completely drained from this hustling and managing every single thing, I would say prioritize, take a step back, take a break, and just think, like, what does matter for you? What is the step that you can do today that is going to bring you closer to your future self? Sometimes the best decision we're making for ourselves is actually to pause. I'm going to give you an example. When I quit corporate, me as a hustler, and I was thinking the best thing for me to do was jump straight into building my business, because I should not waste time, because time is money. And the first thing that actually my coach told me, she said, stop it now. Now you're going to take 1 month completely off. I want you to get bored. I want you to go outside. I want you to walk. I want to be creative again. I want you to see people. I want you to go to conferences, and just by filling your cup, and just like sometimes that pause and that slow down moment is going to give you actually the clarity for you to understand what is next step. And trust me, the output you're going to have from that after, when not being exhausted and burned out, is going to be 100% way more qualitative than just like being on a go 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 mindset.
Love Carolina already and all of her advice that she gave you.
She'll have a lot of new clients after this.
You really promoted her well.
She really changed my life.
That's we all have those teachers that come into our lives to change our lives and to make us step onto our next level. But definitely when it comes to taking a step back, it's what was the saying? Two steps forward, one step back is always the
Yeah.
case. If you want to keep moving forward, it's impossible not to take a step back. And talking about work-life balance, it's something that I was thinking about for the past few months because, as I told you, I don't like the word hustling. I've been listening to Emma Rede as well, and I like her podcasts, but she is a hustler and she works a lot of times. And I think that she also has a lot of help in the house, from babysitters to cooks to house cleaners. So there are a lot of women who've built billion-dollar empires, but they delegated all of those things when it comes to their household, when it comes to their kids. And I reached a point in my business where I asked myself, what are my priorities? Would I ever go down that road? And the answer for me was always no, because I wouldn't want to miss any special moments from my kids or not to be there. I'm not saying that, I want to cook every meal at home or keep being at home. That's not the idea. But I think that it all boils down to your beliefs. If you tell yourself, I need to keep hustling and being in the office and not being here, that's the way it's going to go. Because if you want to scale, let's say in 1 year, that's what you need to do. But if you're not rushing anywhere, if you're taking it slowly and at your own pace and doing what feels right to you, I truly believe that women can reach that work-life balance, which is, again, not there every day. So one day you're going to spend more working, the other day you're going to spend more, having family time. So not every day is in balance. But when you look at 1 year, it's going to be balanced out, because I've had days where I didn't see my kids, where I traveled, where I did so many things. But when I look back on this whole year, I've been a mom. I've been a present mom. I've been a present mom. I've been a present business owner. I did all of those things, right? And that's why when we're talking about hustling, I'm a bit like, I don't think it needs to be that extreme. It can be extreme when it comes to days, but marking yourself, labeling yourself as a hustler or any other thing, I feel it boils down to self-belief and the stories you tell yourself at the end of the day.
And I agree with you. I also believe, like in seasons of life as well, there are
Mm-hmm.
certain times where unfortunately you will need to hustle harder because, especially at the
Mm-hmm.
start of building a business, building a community, like you have to put in the work. And that will be actually lying to people saying that you don't have to put in the rep. But I think what is very important is how can you be intentional? The aim is to do a sustainable business, not something that is going to burn you out and like a fast, quick, make money, fast decision now. You know what I mean? 'Cause so many people on the internet are promising quick results and quick things and just like really, like yeah, that hustle energy, etc. But I feel like those people are gonna forget you. They're gonna live in from the
Exactly.
internet in 2 years. They're not even gonna exist. I think it's better to invest in people or coaches, like that are intentional building. They're building for the future. It might be slower, but it will be better. It will be more value
Exactly.
as well for the person, like working with them. And I agree with you. I have been a hustler in the past, and that has served me well, but at the moment I am the same as you. I am also enjoy my time spending time with my partner, with my friends. Yeah, hopefully I'll never go back to, like to being burnout from before. Yeah.
Yes, I love how you said it, that building a sustainable business is about being intentional. That's beautiful. You need to quote that.
I will.
Going a bit into personal branding now, because that is your forte. How would you personally define personal branding today beyond visibility and followers?
A very strong personal brand is not only being seen, it's about being felt and being remembered. So he's driving emotions via storytelling, but also he's able to be remembered. A strong personal brand is also when you build a community that is gonna route for you. They're gonna be defending you. And the community, like, is going to even transcend you, meaning that the community is even going to speak on your behalf. Your own quotes, your own quirks, your own personality, they will be feeling as if, they will be part of your brand word. And to create that brand word, you need consistency. You need a very good, visual aesthetics, and you need to be felt and trusted and being able to connect actually with your community as well. And I see there are a lot of examples, like very good founders that have built amazing personal brands for themselves. Like Emma Grade actually is a good example, Stephen Bartlett, etc. But as of today, like the industry is valued like at 46.5 billion US dollars, but it's actually growing at 16% CAGR year on year until 2030. What does that mean? It means that now you can, record your videos and podcasts for free. There's going to be way more founders on the online space building personal brands as well in the next years. And so this is the reason why now has never been the best time, like to build actually a personal brand, because it takes time, to build that community. But once you have built that community, the biggest advantage of having a personal brand is For example, you as Nina, you are allowed, like to evolve. And even if tomorrow you change business and you change product or whatever you're doing, maybe tomorrow you're opening a new fashion brand, your community that you have built under Nina as a founder is going to follow you, like for your entire life. And this is the beauty of building a personal brand because it allows you to evolve and people are following you through all of the steps of your life. Versus if you build a community for your business only, if you shut down the business, that community is done because they have followed that specific business without knowing who is the face behind the brand.
You talked about connecting with your audience and building trust. How can one do that?
So, to build trust and to connect from a human perspective and founder, the best way to do it is storytelling is a very, very powerful way, to be honest. I think this is a skill that every single founder should have because if you're able to tell stories, like a story could be anything, could be your lived experiences or maybe your failures that could serve as a lesson, for your audience as well. It could be, and I think you're doing a fantastic job at this, is where are you going, because people want to be invested not only from your past. Your past is only serving, like your present if it's valuable, for what you're saying now, but people will connect with you mostly because of the future. If you're able to showcase to your audience, where are you going? And they follow that vision and they said, yes, I really resonate with her. I love her values. I love where she's going. She wants to create something big. I want to be part of. Another way to connect as well, which I think very few founders are doing, to be honest, is to co-create with the community. It is sometimes a very me scenario, and they will speak about themselves and they will never ask, actually, what do you want to see? Are you interested about this? Or how can I help you? And when it comes, from a place of abundance and when you provide a lot of value and help and you're very generous with your community, it will go both ways. And there'll be like a feedback loop. And after, they're going to be so much invested. And then when you co-design something with the community, um, this is super powerful. And after, they feel even more invested in you.
Can you give us an example of that?
If you are a fashion founder, you could take two routes. Yes, you could decide from yourself individually what is the next collection based on the trends, based on the tissues, based on the money you have, or whatever it is. It could be a very solo experience. However, if you're flipping, like the coin on its head, you would say, okay, I am a founder. I'm going to ask my community what do they love to have as pieces, what colors they want, what texture they want, when do they want, like everything, like just co-build with the community. And it goes even beyond fashion. For example, Julia Broom, which is someone that I really, really value. She is creating a community that is really engaged. She has co-designed her app, which is called Workhorse, which is like a social media content planning tool app as well. And she has co-designed it with the community with a very big feedback loop and said, this is the thing that are not working. And we want to improve this. We want to have it color coded, every single content pillar, every single thing that the community has asked, she has put inside the app. And this is the reason why people are buying. This is how you actually magnetize sales. You soft sell without even needing to sell because people are buying you because they love you. They have been part of the journey.
And would you say those three things that you just mentioned are criteria to be binge worthy, as you call it?
Uh, no, yeah. So to create a personal brand that is binge worthy, there's so much more going into this. It depends on the channel you are in, right? Like if, for example, on a podcast, it is more easy to have the full attention of people because normally when you open a podcast, you're going to be listening to the full hour, unless the podcast is really bad. But which is not your case, you have full attention. You don't need to earn the attention. versus, like on platform like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you need to play the game. You need to be
Yeah.
earning attention. We all know that, like the first 3 seconds, hook your audience, giving value, CTA, whatever. So in order to be binge worthy on platforms where the algorithm is really, really working hard against yourself sometimes, you need to be a bit cheeky, I would say. So if you, I love to take the examples, like of how media companies like Netflix, etc., is doing. So the first thing you need to do, when you binge watch, like an episode of Netflix, let's say Emily in Paris, you're always gonna have the main character. Emily in Paris is never gonna change. She has one brand archetype. She's always be that polished girl, always fashionable with her beautiful dresses. So this is her archetype. It's the same for a founder. What is your main character? Which type of personality you are? Are you a CEO vibe? Are you a creator? Are you a visionary? What is the archetype that is going to make you super recognizable, that people are going to remember you? Then you need to have a narrative arc. And to have a narrative arc, you need to understand who you are, your story. What are the tragedies, like the tensions that you're going to put? What are the loops? And for example, if you're creating like a signature series on Reels and on Instagram, a lot of the influencers are cutting at the end, of the video saying, follow for part two. This is called like a cliffhanger. And it's the same when you binge watch, like a Netflix series, right? Always stops at the best part. You always want to watch the next episode. And this is the thing, to be binge worthy online, especially like on social media, you need to create curiosity, you need to create tension, you need to be the main character. And the final thing you need to do as well is to build a very strong brand word. What is that aesthetic? What is that multi-sensory branding that you are having that is unique to you, and that is going to speak about you? Because there is there is importance, like in terms of what you wear, how you behave yourself. Am I holding myself grounded? How is my tone of voice? The color psychology, like all of those kind of things are going to be very important as well. And when you watch Emily in Paris, you know that there's going to be all of those luxury clothes and etc. And if someone even imitates Emily in Paris as a real, you know that was the OG movie that they were referencing. So much it is strong. And those are a few tricks that you can do for you to be a binge-worthy personal brand on social media.
Wow, it sounds like science to me.
Hopefully, no.
I mean, I completely agree with everything you've said, and I've learned a lot actually in this moment from you regarding the series and creating those hooks and all of those things. But I would say that it requires a lot of work just on that when we're talking about showing up on social media. Because as you know, my story, I've been on social media for the past few months as well. And I would say for me personally, that is the toughest part because I'm a visionary and I like to visualize things and I know where I'm going and I know where I'm going to be. And I have no problem when it comes to moving forward and telling my story, bringing people along on this journey with me, being vulnerable. That's something that I really try to be on social media. But the moment where you have to package everything visually and keep creating content is the part that I find harder and more challenging than anything else in business because it's sort of appears very shallow to me in a way, even though I know on a rational level that it's something every founder needs to do nowadays in order to scale the business, in order to grow, is to be visible and to really focus on social media. And I think the world is going in that direction, which we will talk about because you're the one who will dig into that topic as well. But just from my personal experience, I think that is the most challenging part. And if you ask me, I would just delegate everything to somebody to do it for me, like to be like, Nina, you have to wear this. Your visual identity needs to be in this color. And then I just tell them my story and then they package it nicely. Like that would be my ideal case scenario.
I think what I would say, a lot of people actually procrastinate to post online because they think that they need to nail all of that visual aesthetic. And it's not true. There are a lot of content creators that have really boomed without any visual aesthetic. You don't need a branding until you really need to invest, etc. Like you just need the basics, like a font that is readable visual from the algorithm perspective that is familiar with people. And the most important thing I say, and this should not come into the way from you posting content, is as long as your content pillars on social media are completely correlated with the highest vision self of you, and you're very consistently posting on those content pillars, and your voice and the energy you're going to bring and the words you're going to be using matter more than any single visual. I know that
Mm.
65% of the population is visual and aesthetic, and I'm pretty sure that what you consider not visually perfect enough is already at a very high level, because we're like that. We already
Oh,
have
thank
very
you.
high standards for ourselves. So I trust that you're going to have an amazing aesthetic. But I think a voice matters way more. The most important is, how are you able to resonate? If you're able to resonate even with one more person today, this is one more person that is getting you closer to your goal. The more you procrastinate showing yourself, speaking your truth, etc., the more you procrastinate helping someone that really needs you and your words on the other side of the spectrum, and you also achieving your life. Yes, what I said is, in an ideal scenario, you want to be doing signature series because they're really growing and you want to have a nice aesthetic and photos, but this is, you don't need this at all when you just start. You just need momentum and consistency. This is what is going to really, really matter. And then the rest, you add it if you have time and the energy and the passion for this.
Love that. That's very, very useful. Thank you, Teo. I'm going to write all of these things down. I'm going to take this podcast episode and cut out this part to analyze the social media part we talked about. It's very, very useful. Moving a bit into AI, because I know you work a lot with AI. You said that you believe that the future of personal branding is blending human creativity and AI. So, what does that mean in practice for you?
2026, we're going to see a lot of shift, on social media, having even more AI content. Founders are even sometimes cloning themselves, like as
What do
AI
you mean
self.
cloning themselves as AI?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of founders who don't have time actually to post themselves. They're creating a clone, AI clone, and they're posting that on their social media as well. They are transparent about this, so people know that it's an AI clone. And I understand that not everyone has time, like to record their voice on social media. But yeah, I have read an article recently that said that we're going into this direction. There's going to be way more founders doing that,
But you
which
can
is a bit of
feel
a,
that, from the other side.
yeah, it is a bit scary, and I feel like people are gonna have even more the ick sometimes when they see this type of content. And some brands even are getting criticized for even jumping on that bandwagon. And I really value creators such as Silicon Valley Girl. She always says, even if she use AI and she recommends AI tools, she will never replace her face as a human. That's what she said on a YouTube episode. Anyways, so when I see that, I was thinking, how can you be relevant and what is the future of personal branding? And I was very interested into that. And I read a lot of books, and one of the books that I highly recommend actually people to read, because it's super interesting, and that has been recommended by my friend Rocco, who lives in New York City and works in a branding agency. The book is called Irreplaceable: The Art of Standing Out in the Age of AI, from Pascal Bornet. And he says something very, very interesting. He says that the best way to not be replaceable by AI in the future is to hone in way more onto our human skills, And I really, really love this. I feel like, especially today, AI does not have a conscious, it doesn't have a self awareness. AI doesn't have a lived stories. It's not able to replicate emotions. It doesn't feel empathy. It's not emotionally intelligent. Maybe one day it will. And I am pretty sure once we will have super intelligence, we will go to that stage. But even if to that stage, AI is not able to replace fully, our creativity. Human is the most creative, because AI is able to be creative based on the trained data that it has. So it's going to be creative to a degree, versus the human is able to do dynamic connections and association. and be really coming up with true innovation and expected ideas and full blown creativity. And this is a bit, like all of the thoughts that I had like for the last 7 months. And this is the reason why for me, I feel like the future of personal branding is so human. So the human aspect is why they should connect with you, why they should trust you, because you're human, because you're the only one that has those stories and those live experience. And I want to learn from a human. Then the second aspect is creativity. Creativity is what is going to make you recognizable, memorable, and desired by everyone. And AI is going to be allowing yourself to scale very quickly without any burnout. I don't use AI to replace creativity, but more being like your mini creative assistant. They say that in the very near future, there will be even billionaires that are solopreneurs working alone with AI. So I really believe in that. But it's AI for me at this stage is not yet replacing human. And even if one day, because we cannot predict the future, obviously, even if one day when we will have super intelligence, I still believe to my core that certain humans will still want to be buying and paying from a human for certain things. Doesn't matter if it's craft or human advice, human therapist, or whatever is it, because they will have that unique thing that even AI would not be able to replace.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think that being human can be taken away from us, except when they talk about human extinction, which I hope we won't get to that place. But as long as we don't go to that place, I think human creativity is going to matter, definitely. And which AI tools do you find most powerful today for founders and creators?
The thing I love about AI tools is they change all the time and it evolve as well. So you
Yeah.
can't, they always keep on your toe. Maybe I'm telling you my favorite tools today, and in 2 months they're all going to be completely obsolete.
Yeah.
But my daily suite is, ChatGPT, obviously. I
Hmm.
have trained my ChatGPT completely to my voice, business voice. A bit like my mini assistant, because I don't have a team, so that is my team. And I love the deep search function as well of ChatGPT. I don't know if you use them, but it's amazing to come up with a very big research, especially when you need to do videos with a deep topic as well. I also use Claude. So Claude, I did not train it to my voice because I want this to be more my objective partner, working partner. Claude is very good for copywriting or for summarizing big things. It could even read an entire book if you needed it. It's very good at summarizing, and so sometimes I bounce between ChatGPT and Claude and fight between each other to come up with a solution for me. Very recently, also, I have been integrating as well Perplexity. Perplexity is beyond amazing. For anyone who doesn't have Perplexity, you can access the free version of it. This is very good for research, for trends, sources, very, very good sources, like accurate, because ChatGPT and Claude make mistakes. Perplexity is actually way more accurate. So this is an amazing tool that I really recommend everyone to do. Then from a creative perspective, because I plan on creating some carousels, more like opinion carousels generated with AI, I use Midjourney. Midjourney is amazing for creative imagery. And me as a creative, like I love it. Like you can really create your own universe. I think this is a fantastic tool that everyone needs to use. Every founder that has a business, it costs a bit, but it's really worth the investment. Then after, I have also an entire suite of AI video generation effects. So Hikes field effect, no banana, which is able to use your photo, don't change your face, but put you in different environments as well. But keep your face, like realistic, which is something that Midjourney cannot do. And then from a workflow perspective, I use Notion and Notion AI to build my dashboard.
Mhm.
This is the software I use on a daily basis to organize my ideas, my workflow, my content creation, and everything. I prefer Figma for building my carols that I'm going to be posting because it's a way more professional tool that actually designers are using. I use Canva and Canva AI mostly for my presentations.
You had to train yourself, I suppose, to use Figma because it's not
It's not
as easy
easy.
to use as guides. Yeah.
It is not easy. I have bought a course that teaches me all of the shortcuts, which is really saving a lot of time and headaches. And also on that course, it has inbuilt templates to the format, all of the formats of social media, YouTube, sizes, TikTok, everything. So this is really saving my life.
Amazing. I need to try that out. I've created a few posts on Figma, but I haven't done the training. So I will ask you to send that over to me so I can check it out as well. Definitely need to up my game when it comes to creating content and carousels. So thank you for all of those wonderful, wonderful advices. I'm sure it's going to be useful not only to me, but to all the listeners as well. Wow, I still have quite a few questions, but I know we're running out of time. So I'm going to go straight on to the second before the last question,
Yeah.
which is for somebody who's listening that would want to start their own personal brand or a business from zero. What would you say? Where should they begin?
Someone that is starting their personal brand from zero is, if you don't have a coach and you're going alone, let's give this scenario. The first thing you need to do is, what is your vision? Where do you want to go? What is that highest self that you're really trying to be? And then following that vision, what is the message and the problem you're solving, and what is the dream audience you want to really impact with that mission as well. And so once you start to put, like all of this, you are more clear after about your values, your mission, and all of those kind of things. Then after, your social media content should reflect your vision. So for example, if your highest vision for you would be to empower, like women to quit the corporate job, like to be funding their own businesses, so your entire social ecosystem, should be maybe life as an entrepreneur, your mindset shift, and after how to empower, like women empowerment and spirituality or whatever is it, you're going to be defining like those four content pillars, like that you want to push, like towards people. I would say for personal branding, try to pick two platforms that you're going to be pushing very, very hard and putting all of your energy. Doesn't matter if it's like Instagram and TikTok or whatever you are the most genuine with, like for you is like Instagram and podcasts. And just start, because a lot of people actually are so afraid to put themselves out there. And the biggest blockage that they have is not so much like the how, because you can find every single resource, even on AI or YouTube tutorials or whatever. But it's mostly like the fear of being seen, the fear of being judged, and the fear of being vulnerable online. Like this is the biggest blockage I think that the women are who want to build a personal brand are facing. So just pick those two platforms, just like get your camera, like just buy a light, the microphone, and that's it. And just like go and record. You'll be surprised by the amount of people that are gonna resonate with you once you start sharing your message. And I feel the what stands in between is not what you know and the knowledge, or you being worthy enough of sharing what you want to share. It's the only obstacle is you. And just working on that mindset.
All roads lead back to us and to the mindset, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is that simple, but it is the hardest work that we will ever do is the work on ourselves. But I guess once we accept that as progress in life, life truly becomes magical and takes us places that we never thought we would end up in. So, this leads me to my last question for this podcast episode. And considering everything we've discussed and considering the way you shared your story from the beginning, from your journey in France, about your family and everything that you went through, which is a remarkable, remarkable experience. I feel like in your 30 something years, you've lived 1,000 different lifetimes, which is really incredible. I wanted to ask you, what are you most proud of today when you think about yourself? What are you most proud of?
I am the most proud of building a life of freedom and being able actually to have really reconnected with my most creative self, having a voice and having my energy back as well. And the thing also that I'm also trying to do as well is to not compare, my episode 1 to somebody episode 20, because everyone
Yeah.
starts on their journey, like at their own time. And as long as you are living and improving, maybe 1% more today from what you were yesterday, and you're comparing yourself only with you and not external validation or other founders which are way more ahead of you, I think I would have won.
I love that. That is so relevant for today's world because I feel like all of us are exposed to information and to people who are way ahead of us. And it's very important to self-regulate our nervous system and to really only focus on ourselves and to be better than we were yesterday at the end of the day. Because the majority of people that are successful nowadays, they've spent years and years of working on themselves, on their business to get to where they are today. So that's a very, very important reminder. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining today's podcast. I truly enjoyed our conversation. I feel like I could continue for the next 3 hours. I still had a couple of questions that I didn't get to, but maybe we can repeat this podcast episode one more time next year, definitely. Actually, this year,
With pleasure.
definitely. Yeah. So thank you, Teo. And thank you to all of you who have joined us here today. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye.